Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I am here today with Doug Schoon. And we are more than honored to have him as our very first guest on Ask Beauty Questions. And I've had some questions sent in to me from people on my email address that I'm going to shoot at him, and we'll get the proper answers to what we need to establish. So, welcome, Doug.
Hello, how are you doing? Good morning, everybody.
And I guess, Doug, you know that we have Mirage Education, and we are teaching our students mostly online. So everything that we're teaching to the students is a pre-recorded session. And a lot of them are asking some questions like about getting started and what is a good thing for them as a brand new beginner. Maybe we could start with that. What would you suggest for them?
Well, I think the first thing to focus on as a beginner is proper prep. Where most problems occur start with the preparation of the nail plate. The nail plate isn't properly prepared, it's going to be very hard to get things to stick to it and then to stay stuck to it, which is really the goal of the nail professional. We create products that are supposed to adhere and beautify the nail plate, but the nail plate isn't properly prepared, and that's something on there that causes lifting, well, then that's going to ruin all of your effort. So I think the very most important thing you can learn, besides sanitation and disinfection, which we'll touch on, would be proper preparation of the nail plate so you can have successful services and happy clients.
Perfect. I've had a lot of, well, even in my own experience, a lot of my customers from my spa days, and I even hear it now just talking to people about nails, they always come back and say, oh, I've just had to take my product off my nails for a while because I need to let them breathe. I'm sure you've heard that before.
I've heard that many times.
How would we approach that for a client, or what should the nail techs know about nails breathing?
Well, I think it's obvious that nails don't breathe. They don't have little tiny lungs that inhale oxygen. And 0% of the oxygen that the nail plate needs comes from the outside. 100% comes from the blood. So I don't really know what they think they're going to accomplish taking a break. The nails, if you take the product off the nails and go for a while without putting on, your nail doesn't have like a timer. It says, okay, it's been long enough. So that's not really going to help you in any way, shape, or form. You either can wear the enhancements or you can't wear the enhancements. Not everybody's a good candidate for every service. So if you're not a good candidate, you shouldn't wear the service. And if you are, there's nothing that says that you can't wear the service continuously as long as that service is being properly provided and cared for and maintained. A lot of what people think they need to let their nails rest from is improper maintenance, improper application, or improper removal. One of these three things will cause damage to the nail. So the clients are seeing this damage and thinking somehow a rest is going to reverse these problems, and it's not, unless they waited for the nail to completely grow out, which would take 12 to 16 weeks. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense to take a break or to let the nails breathe. Oftentimes, like I said, it's just clients wanting to escape from the constant damage to their nail plate. So the real solution is to find a way to do artificial nails or do nail coatings without damaging the nail plate. And that is possible. Now, back in the olden days, it was harder to make products adhere and stick, but now products are very, very good, and they adhere very well. And I think with proper preparation, proper application, and proper maintenance, your clients won't have problems if that service is suited to their nails, and they'll be able to wear them continuously without feeling a need to take a rest or a break.
Right. You actually answered my next three questions that I had to give you was, how long for the nail to grow out, even if the client is letting their nail grow out, it's going to take 4 months. So they're going to have a damaged nail growing out for 4 months when actually they could still continuously wear the enhancement and it wouldn't hurt the nail either way. It's more the damage done pre-application.
Well, also, I'll put in real quickly, the toenail can take twice as long to grow. It grows about half the speed. But the problem is this: if the client takes a break and even lets the nail grow out completely and have all virgin nails, and you start over again and make the same errors that caused the damage in the first place, now what? They have to take another 4-month break? So it really doesn't make any sense, the breathing or the break routine. It's far better to be a detective. Nail technicians need to be detectives, and they need to troubleshoot their clients' nails, and they need to troubleshoot their own work. And I don't mean as far as from a medical point of view, because that's not where we should be looking at. We should be looking at the condition of the nail and making sure we're protecting the condition of the nail plate. And any service that we're doing that's weakening, thinning, or damaging the nail plate, we need to really seriously reconsider it, because artificial nails and nail coatings and nail polish should not damage the nail plate. The nail plate is becoming damaged. Either this client is not suited for that service for some reason, maybe a lifestyle reason, or maybe they have nail psoriasis or something that makes them not a suitable candidate, or the service is being performed in a way that's causing the damage. So I tell nail professionals, first thing to do is suspect yourself first. Look at what you're doing and eliminate what you're doing as a possible cause, and look at what you're doing with a critical eye. Don't just give yourself a pass and say, oh, I must be doing it right, because this works on other clients. Then secondly, you can look at the client and what the client is doing, because maybe the client is doing something at home they don't realize is damaging their nails, and if they're informed and educated, they can stop doing this. And then lastly, look at the products. Make sure you're using the products properly and correctly, and you're not cherry picking and mixing together things that shouldn't be mixed together, because that can create unanticipated problems as well. But always look at yourself first and eliminate yourself as the potential for these problems. Because a lot of these problems occur either in improper application, improper removal, or improper maintenance, which of course would be the client's issue if it weren't properly maintained.
Right, right. I just want to ask you about removal, product removal with acetone or a acetone-based soak-off solution. A lot of the nails today, of course, are soak-offable, and that's where it seems to be the industry is heading into a solution of some sort to soak this off. But I was told, and I would love your input on this, that acetone is soaked in through our skin, and it's held in our liver, and our body doesn't rid itself of it. Is that true, or how is that? Because that can be scary.
Yeah, when people don't understand what to say about something, they'll just make something up. Our bodies make acetone. So acetone is natural inside of our bodies. So the notion that our livers store it and don't get rid of it is ridiculous. Also, acetone is highly volatile, so it's going to evaporate faster than it penetrates. Minute traces may absorb deep into the nail plate, but they're not going to get very far, because the nail is a great barrier, and the skin is a pretty good barrier as well. They protect us from the outside world. Acetone has a very, very long a history of safe use in our industry. And in my opinion, is the safest solvent nail technicians can use, except for water itself. Of course, it's flammable. You don't want to smoke around it. You don't want to heat it up in an open pan or under a fire or a microwave, of course, because it makes it more flammable. But acetone itself is a very safe solvent. Now, but the other part of your question was how to remove. I formulate products, so I look at things from a product formulation point of view. Whereas nail professionals, I look at it from a nail professional point of view. So they're looking for, inexpensive and easy. Well, when you formulate a remover for a product, you're looking for something that removes the product in the best possible fashion. And you want to make something that's better than what nail technicians can buy in the form of acetone. So if a manufacturer had made a remover for their product, more than likely, it's going to work better than acetone. They wouldn't try to sell it if it didn't work better than acetone. So I think if you give the product manufacturers removers a chance, you'll find that they are superior to using acetone by itself. Again, if you do choose to use acetone, you're not going to die, you're not going to get a brain tumor or cancer. None of these things are true. Acetone does not cause cancer. That's a nonsensical myth that oftentimes is said. But I would say give the product manufacturer a chance and follow directions. Use the product as they direct it, apply it as they direct it, and remove it as they direct it. And most likely, you're going to find out that that is the superior method, because most manufacturers put a lot of time and effort into researching these things and making sure they're developing the products that are superior to, for instance, like I said, acetone.
Thank you, because all my 30 years in the industry, I had that fallacy that acetone is going to be soaked in through my skin and sit in my liver forever. And here we go. So thank you. I appreciate that. On another question, I've heard people putting oil drops in the acetone to, they say that it conditions the nail as it's removing the product. Where are you with that?
Well, you can buy polish removers that are acetone based that contain oils. And the reason for them is when the acetone evaporates, and it evaporates pretty quickly, the oils don't evaporate. So the oils get left behind on the skin and can get rid of that dry looking appearance that acetone can leave behind. Acetone leaves that because it pulls moisture from the upper surface. It doesn't dehydrate the nail. It doesn't dehydrate your skin. But what it does is it dehydrates only the surface of these things and can leave a white appearance. After 30 or 40 minutes, that probably is going to go away, or if you breathe on it, that will go away because it's a temporary dehydration. But oils inside of in acetone, again, can deposit a thin film that disguise this and make it not so obvious. So and it does condition the skin as well. So I think they can be useful, but one thing you have to remember, you don't want to use these to clean your nail plate, because when you clean the nail plate for preparation, it's going to leave a thin layer of oil behind on the nail plate. And that's like putting butter in your frying pan. It keeps the egg from sticking. That oil that's left on the nail plate will give you adhesion problems. So better to prep, I believe, with professionally designed preparation products. They're designed to clean the nail, remove the oils, and not leave behind any residue that can cause lifting. But again, acetone, a good high-grade acetone can do a good job, as well as a high-grade alcohol can do a good job of prepping the nail plate as well.
Perfectly said. Speaking of nail oil, I just want to continue on with the nail oil subject. So I've got a lot of questions to sort of bounce back and forth from. People have said not to put cuticle oil on after they've just had a service, because the oil will seep under the newly applied nail product and lift it off. How are you with that?
Well, I don't know how the product would know it was a newly applied versus it's been there for a week or two. So if it's good after a week or two, I don't see why the newly applied is a problem. Here's the facts about nail oils. They're very, very good for the natural nail. They're very good for the skin. And they soak into the enhancements and can make the enhancements more flexible. It's like if you buy a brand new Gucci purse, you're not going to put it out in the sunlight and forget about it. You're going to protect it, and you're going to put conditioning agents on that leather, soften that leather and keep that leather in good condition. It's what nail oils will do for your nails as well. They will not cause lifting unless they're already on the nail plate. They're already on the nail plate, you try to put product on top of it. It acts as a separating medium. Like I said, the butter in the frying pan is a great example. But if I fry an egg into my frying pan and then I put butter on top of it, the egg isn't going to let go of the frying pan, not without a lot of hard scrubbing. And that's unfortunately, unfortunately, I would say the same for these kind of products. If there's already lifting going on, say the nail was improperly applied, the nail wasn't clean, there's already some lifting going on, well then afterwards applying nail oil, it can seep under those lifted areas and maybe speed what was already going to happen. It was going to already lift because it was improperly applied. That nail oil may make it come off quicker when it's improperly applied. But that once they're properly applied, they make a tight seal, and the oil cannot break that seal or get underneath that tight seal. So I would say that it's a good idea to use a good quality nail oil after you apply the enhancements, and tell your clients that while they're watching their favorite TV show every night, to reapply that oil. That gives them something to remember when to do it. They can sit there and watch their show and rub nail oil into their artificial nails. It will condition the surrounding skin. It will condition the nail plate as well if you rub it underneath the free edge. And it'll also flexibilize and condition the enhancement and keep it in better condition.
Perfect answer. Butter on the egg is such a good visual for that. That's fabulous. Talking about condition of nails now, I've been asked a lot about chemo patients or damaged nail plates to start with. Say And also, I know you can carry this a little bit further, so I'll just say it all, then let you finish, is people taking medication. So into, say, the first few days, into the second week, into maybe 4 months into a medication, does that cause nails to pop off? All of a sudden, their nails are all gone. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, let's talk about chemo first, because it's a highly aggressive treatment. And yes, chemo can affect the way our body functions, and the nail can begin to grow improperly or even be shed completely because of the harshness of the chemotherapeutic agents. So chemotherapy is an example of a medication that can pretty quickly harm nails. Not in a day, but maybe in a week or certainly in a month. Other medications may have an effect on your nail plate as well, but not after taking them for a month. Some people say my clients were on antibiotics for a month and all their nails lifted. Well, that nail already grew out, and the antibiotic's not going to affect the nail that's already grown out. You could argue that it's going to affect new growth of nail, but that'll take a month or so before you even saw that. So if you're seeing, talking about short-term medication, I would say it's unlikely that it can cause nail problems. Long-term medication, that's more likely can occur, especially if they mess with our hormones. Anything that messes with your hormones can certainly affect your nails, because we're actually just a big old bag of hormones. And hormones, we think our brain runs everything. Our hormones run everything. Our brains tell our hormones where to go, and they do the work. So if we have taken medication that causes hormones to stop being made or be made in excess, that can change the way the nail grows. It can change the oiliness of the skin. It can change a lot of things. But again, not after 1 month or 2 months. So I guess my short answer would be chemotherapy and long-term medication that really drastically affects the hair and nails. That's possible, but not antibiotics, not short-term medication, and not menstrual cycles. These things do not affect the adhesion to the nail plate.
Thank you. So now I want to sort of flip to maybe some product information. Gels, first off. I have heard a lot that people say, I will never go get my gel nails done again because they burnt under the light so bad that they burnt my nails so bad. Can you maybe explain where that heat spike comes from, and how a new nail tech and or not even a new nail tech can buffer that so that they don't get that heat spike?
Well, there's a lot to talk about here. I'll cover the basics. First off, a little bit of warmth is normal whenever any product occurs. Gels or liquid and powder, they generate a little bit of warmth because each time two molecules join together to create a longer chain polymer, a little tiny bit of heat is released. Normally, you never feel that heat because it's released slowly over time. One thing can make that heat easier to feel. I call the sore tooth syndrome. If I tap on my tooth, oh, that doesn't hurt. If I have a toothache and I tap on that tooth, I would scream in pain because that tooth is super sensitive from the toothache. Same can happen with the nail plate and bed. If we overfile the nail plate, we can friction burn the nail bed and make the nail bed more sensitive to heat that normally the client would never feel. Typically, you'll see this on thumbs. So one thing you want to think about right away, if the client is feeling excessive heat, you want to think about, am I filing too aggressively? Because that's a big problem in the industry. Many nail technicians were taught to overfile. So when they overfile, they think they're doing things right, but really they're filing too aggressively. And this heat spike, feeling heat, can be one way of knowing this. Another reason that this can happen is if I use the wrong nail lamp, which is common in our industry. People think that they can go by the wattage. No. Wattage just says how much electricity your lamp produces. It doesn't say how much UV the light produces. If I have a gel that's designed to cure in 3 minutes, it releases all that heat I talked about over a 3-minute period. If I suddenly put it in a lamp that's going to cure it in 60 seconds, that same amount of heat is now released in 60 seconds. And that can burn the client's nail plate, nail bed, and cause the nail plate and nail bed to separate away from each other. These heat spikes when they become excessive, this is what they can do, and it can lead to infections. We should get a space between the nail plate and the nail bed. So people probably don't often think about, wait a minute, if I use the wrong nail lamp and I over-cure my product and I burn that sensitive nail bed, it can lead to onycholitis and nail infections, which is just one reason why it's so important to use the proper nail lamp with the product that you're using, and never go by wattage. I like to point out that LEDs, yes, LEDs produce UV. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry to shock you, but they actually, LED nail lamps produce more UV. They have a third the wattage, and they put out roughly 3 times the UV, which is why they can cure so quickly. So obviously, if they're a third the wattage and 3 times the UV, that makes it obvious that you cannot go by wattage. That's how many lamp manufacturers trick nail professionals into buying a lamp. Say, well, this is a 38-watt lamp, and yours is a 38-watt lamp. It's the same. No, they're not. I've got lots of information on my website, DougSchoon.com, about this issue. You can look up and find out more about. But you need to use the lamp that was designed for the gel that you're using if you want to eliminate these heat spikes and other problems that can occur. So my best recommendation is don't put the products on too thick. That can lead to more heat. Don't overfile the nail plate, and make sure you're using the proper nail lamp that was designed for the gel of your choice and cure properly, and you can minimize these kind of heat spikes and the potential for infection caused by them.
Thank you. You also went into my next question about explaining UV and LED lights. So thanks for touching on that.
There's more to say about that if you want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, please do.
The other half of it, we talked about overcuring. Actually, there's 3 kinds of cure. People always talk about, oh, it cures. Well, there's 3 cures. There's undercure, there's overcure, and then there's proper cure. You don't hear people much talk about proper cure. They just talk about curing. Well, curing happens when the gel is only 50% cured. When the gel is 50% reacted, it hardens. And we think, oh, it's cured. No, it's only half cured, but it's hardened. And that can fool a lot of people. Hardening does not mean proper cure. So many times the lamp manufacturer will say, well, it cures the gel. Well, they're talking about hardens the gel and not properly curing the gel. It could be overcuring or undercuring. We've talked about overcuring. Undercuring is actually a bigger problem. Because if the gel is undercured, it's going to stay undercured. And when the client comes in, and first off, when you file that, you're going to be laying your arms in the filings of undercured UV gels. So you're going to be constantly exposing your skin to dust and filings of undercured UV gels that can lead to adverse skin reactions. And then when your clients soak their nails off, it releases those uncured ingredients into the solvent, and it can expose the client's skin. Now, the client's only being exposed every couple of weeks, or maybe every 3 weeks. Your nail technicians are being exposed to undercured filings and dust every single day that they work. So this is why this is a greater risk to nail professionals and can cause nail professionals to become permanently allergic to ingredients found in their products. You don't become allergic to products, you become allergic to ingredients. And if you become allergic to a key ingredient in one gel, you'll be allergic to every gel you use that uses that key ingredient. And then you can start to cross-react with other similar ingredients. Not a week goes by that at least one nail professional doesn't call me with a horrible story, tell me how bad their skin is broken out, how many problems they're having, how devastated they are that they can't do nails anymore, and begging me to help them solve their problem. But when you get to that state that you're calling me and begging me to help you solve your problem, it's likely already too late, and you've already developed a permanent allergic reaction. If you're a newbie especially, you don't want to go there. You want to protect your skin from overexposure to dust and filings. You want to properly cure, and you want to make sure you understand all the rules of working safely so you can have a long career and not get 10 years down the road and find out you're so allergic you can no longer work with your products. And that happens, believe me, it happens.
Yeah, it does happen a lot. I've seen that a lot, not even in nails, but in hair and everything as well. So just asking a little bit further about that, is that more of a breathing allergy or a touching allergy where maybe gloves would help to continue their career a little bit more, or maybe a dust mask?
Good question. There are different kinds of allergies. You get inhalation allergies, like pollens and things of that nature, and you can get skin allergies. In the nail industry, the big issue is skin allergies, not inhalation allergy. So we want to avoid prolonged and repeated contact with the skin. This is what causes these kinds of problems. Every day you pick up your gel container and it's got gel on the outside, or you pick up your brush, it's got gel on the brush, and you expose your skin every day. That's called repeated contact. Now, if you leave it on your skin and you don't wash it off, that's all day long, or maybe twice a day you wash your hands, you're getting prolonged contact. Either one of these can lead to adverse skin reactions, so both of these are things that you want to avoid. Wearing gloves is one good way. Properly curing is even better. You don't want to under-cure and then wear gloves to counteract the problem, because dust will get in your collar area. It might get up on your arms and cause allergic reactions on your arms. Typically, you'll see it on the wrist where the client or the nail technician lays their arm in the dust. Better to properly cure, and if you want to give yourself that extra measure of safety, I definitely recommend wearing nitrile gloves. Nitrile gloves come in various thicknesses. You can determine by mils, M-I-L-S. A 4 mil glove is not good. 6 mil glove is better. 8 mil gloves are the best. And these are disposable gloves. You want to use them. They become contaminated. You throw them away. But nitrile gives the best resistance of any kind of material in disposable gloves, and it's most suited to nail professionals. So I recommend they use those, but more importantly is to properly cure and never intentionally touch your products. I see people take their fingertips and touch the gel and on purpose. Avoid doing that.
Following along that, you mentioned the gel on the outside of the jar, which is all too common. It is movable and it does leak down. People dip their brush in, wipe it off on the edge and put the lid on, and it squeezes down the side. Then they take an alcohol pad and wipe the jar to remove the alcohol. But now is that alcohol, or remove the gel, but is that alcohol now on their fingers going to cause the problem of overexposure from alcohol?
Well, not from alcohol. You're not likely going to become allergic. In fact, you're not going to become allergic to alcohol. Alcohol and acetone and water do not cause allergic reactions.
Okay.
They irritate the skin, but they don't cause allergic reactions. But yes, if you wipe the gel off with the alcohol, you dissolve that gel and made it easier for the gel to penetrate the upper layers of your skin. So it's probably smart to wear a pair of gloves when you do that. And be careful, keep the threads of your containers clean. Because if you have hardened product in there, you put the cap back on, it's not properly sealed. You see this with nail polish a lot, where people get nail polish in the threads of the cap or the jar, excuse me, and then when they go to put the cap back on their nail polish, it doesn't properly seal, and solvents can escape out and the polish can harden in the container more quickly. So wear gloves if you're cleaning the outside of your jar, but the real solution is be very careful not to get product on the outside of your containers. And then, as Cheryl pointed out, when you do go to clean and remove them, make sure you're wearing a good pair of gloves and preventing contact, and wash your hands often. I think you should wash your hands between clients. And that way you're not only being more sanitary, you're protecting your skin from prolonged and repeated contact.
Let me follow through with that, because I have seen, instead of washing our hands between clients, we squirt our little sanitizer and away we go and continue on. Now, if there is any kind of powder or gel or any product on our hands, it's still there. So sanitizing isn't helping us at all, is it?
Well, there have been studies that show that hand sanitizers are not nearly as effective as people say they are, or as manufacturers claim they are. They can help a little bit, but they're not going to sterilize or disinfect your hand. You can't disinfect or sterilize skin without destroying it. You can certainly sanitize it, and antiseptics and hand sanitizers do this. But you don't want to rely on them to clean your hands, because they will not. If you have dirt already on your hands or product already in your hands, all the hand sanitizer will do is smear it around your hands and make it easier to penetrate. So hand sanitizers are for clean hands that have been pre-cleaned, I should say, not for dirty hands. That's why it's important to wash your hands often. And if your hands are clean, you sit at the table, we make a ceremony of applying a hand sanitizer hand. That's a great visual for a client. and clients like to see that. But don't think that that's all I need to do to clean my hands, because no alcohol hand sanitizer is going to clean your hands, just going to kill some of the bacteria on the surface.
Right, right. Thank you. I want to go back to a conversation we sort of touched on about lights and gels. And I know it's been in the tabloids lately, or last year for sure, about people getting a sunburn or a suntan from exposing their hands. And now they've made gloves with the little fingertips cut out and everything to avoid that. Can you help us with that fallacy there? If it is one, prove it.
I've only had one person ever show me that they had a tan on their hands. And I'm not quite sure I believe it. It looked like it, but they were a black person with dark skin, and their skin is the most resistant to UV of any skin and least likely to tan. They can tan, but it's least likely. And this person wore very, very extensive nail art, which looked to me like they'd done a lot of curing under the lamp. But I've been saying for years that UV nail lamps do not burn the skin. They do not cause cancer. They're safer than the sunlight itself. And then, fortunately, others have jumped on the bandwagon to say the same as well. Dr. Robert Sayer is a world-leading photobiologist who studied nail lamps in our industry and determined that they're safer than sunlight. And I agree with that. And finally, just about a month ago, the US FDA came out with another statement that you can find just by Googling FDA and nail lamps. So all you got to do, Google that, and you'll find what the FDA says about it. Or you can look on my Facebook page. I posted it there. And they say that these lamps do not cause cancer, and they aren't going to tan your skin at all. The UV is very low amount of UV, and it's filtered to remove the dangerous rays, so it's extremely unlikely. In fact, the FDA cited a study that shows, actually by Dr. Sayer, that shows that you can put your hands under a UV nail lamp for 36 minutes every day and not exceed international standards for safety of UV exposure. And my favorite study of all, though, was done by Brown University. They compared UV nail lamps to the psoriasis treatments that dermatologists give their clients using UV phototherapy. And they said that you would have to get 250 years of weekly UV manicures to equal one course, which is usually about 8 to 10 treatments, from a dermatologist for psoriasis. And dermatologists say those treatments are safe. So it's really kind of ludicrous for anyone, especially in the face of all the evidence that's out there, to say that these UV nail lamps are not safe. They've been shown repeatedly by different groups that are not related to the industry to be safe as used by nail professionals. So use them according to manufacturer's directions. Use the correct lamp for the UV gel of your choice, and you'll get great products, great results, and you'll be working safely.
Perfect. So let's leave gel behind and move into acrylics, liquid powder if we can. And maybe I would like you to touch on a couple things on it. First is mix ratio and how that affects your nail. And then secondly, I guess combining the gel and the liquid powders would be the overexposure onto the skin, how to avoid that, mostly with liquid powder, because we see people swoop their brush around the skin. So I'll let you have that one.
Well, the first fallacy to talk about here is gels are acrylics too. So are dips and so are adhesives. They're all based on acrylic ingredients. Liquid and powder just got called acrylics. And because they were being called that when gels got developed, they didn't want to call themselves acrylics, so they called themselves something different. But they're all acrylics. So when I talk about acrylics, I'm talking about all of them. And all of them can cause adverse skin reactions. All of them can cause problems. Now, we talked about how using the incorrect lamp can lead to undercuring. Well, we can undercure liquid and powder as well. Liquid and powder needs to have, there's an agent in the powder that causes the liquid to harden. And it's called benzoyl peroxide. It's the same stuff that's used in Clearasil for teenagers that cure acne. They use about 10%. We use less than 2% in our powders. And that's enough to trigger polymerization and cause the liquid monomers to polymerize and form polymers. Well, if we don't use the right powder, we won't have the right amount of benzoyl peroxide in the mixture to get complete cure. Or even more likely, if we don't use the right amount of powder, we won't have enough benzoyl peroxide to cause complete curing. So you can get under curing of liquid and powder enhancements pretty easily by using the wrong powder with one that has too little BPO, or by using too little powder. So using a wet ratio is not a good idea when it comes to liquid and powder. It's best to use a medium dry bead. And the way you can tell if your bead is the right ratio is make a bead, take it and very gently put it on a tip without pressing down, and watch what it does. If it flattens out, you've got too much liquid. If it stays there like a little pea and doesn't change shape, you have too much powder. Generally, too much powder isn't the problem. Nail techs tend to work too wet. What you want to do is you want to find that it forms a nice smooth dome. It doesn't drop more than 25% of its original height, and there's not a ring of extra liquid around the outside of that bead. If your bead holds its shape and doesn't get a ring of liquid around the outside and doesn't drop down to halfway or more, you're probably at the right ratio. And if you work at that ratio, you're going to get proper curing, and then the dust and filings are going to be properly cured as well, and you're going to be less likely to develop adverse reactions. So it works for both liquid and powder and UV gel. Both need to be properly cured, not just hardened, because if they're just hardened, that's could become a source of adverse skin reactions or allergies.
Perfect. Branching from that, but still staying on the liquid powder. The next question sort of leads into two questions. Because the regular, per se, liquid has an odor, I've seen people putting drops of stuff into the liquid to try to kill the odor or something like that. I'm wondering how that changes the chemistry of that product. And then maybe you could lead into similar, where we put dollar store or eBay glitter that we can buy for $1 a jar instead of $10 for a proper jar, and add that to our nail art products or things that we want to mix. We think we can mix our own. We're certainly not Doug Schoon, and we don't have that chemistry behind us.
Well, let's talk about mix your own in general. First off, if those drops that change the odor were a good idea, why wouldn't the manufacturers put it in the product in the first place? The reason they don't isn't because they're stupid. The reason they don't is because it's going to mess up the chemistry of cure. It's going to maybe cause the product to discolor or not to properly cure. So I don't recommend that you chemically alter your products. Leave them as they are. Some people want to think that they want to mix things together and try different blends and mix this with that and see what happens. Well, there's a lot of unintended consequences that could occur that you're not aware of, and it might not even be obvious. It might be permanent allergic reactions. A lot of veterans will say, well, I've been doing it for 10 years and I haven't had a problem. If I were going to have a problem, I would have had one by now. Wrong. Many allergic reactions take many years to develop. I wore blue jeans for 40 years before I became allergic to the nickel studs inside the blue jean. So allergies can take 4 or 5 months to develop, or they can take 10 years to develop. So you're not out of the woods just because you've been doing the same thing for a long time. And once you become allergic, you become permanently allergic to that product, and there's no becoming unallergic. If you stop exposure, the symptoms may subside, but when you restart exposure again, they're going to start right up again in full force. So allergies are not something to mess around with. Once you get them, you're with them, and you're going to deal with them forever. So I don't recommend adding any extra additives to your products because they can throw off the chemistry. If you think that maybe this one won't throw off the chemistry, hey, call the manufacturer of the gel or the liquid and powder and say, I want to do this. Do you recommend it? And if they say no, then don't do it. But just because someone tells you, oh, we've tested it with every gel, it works. No. They couldn't possibly have tested it with every gel. And how did they determine that it's going to be properly curing? They didn't. They're just looking to see that it hardens and saying that's properly curing. So be very careful about the additives that you add into your products. And you ask about nail art too. I'll touch on that. Adding glitters and glitters are good if you're using cosmetic glitters, because they contain ingredients that are been determined to be safe for cosmetic use. Things that are not designed for cosmetic use may not be safe for your skin or for inhalation. You go buy glitter at a craft store, there are documented cases where people have become allergic to their UV gel, and when doctors test them, they found out they weren't allergic to the gel at all. They were allergic to the craft glitters that they were mixing into the gel. Craft glitters are fine if you're using them with glue on a piece of paper and hanging it on your refrigerator. That's completely different than putting it on a nail and then filing that nail and soaking that off in solvents and exposing the client's skin or breathing those dust in. I get the same thing with Sharpies. People say, well, I Sharpie. Sharpie's got to be safe. But they may be safe for writing on a piece of paper, but you put them on a nail and you file the nail, now you're breathing Sharpie dust. You're never going to breathe Sharpie dust if you're putting it on paper. So it's a completely different application. Stick to cosmetic products that are designed for cosmetic use. Don't use craft glitters and craft pigments that you buy at the store, mixing with your products. You may be saving a little money, but you could be setting yourself up for more important problems later, and you may be ruining your own career.
And we don't want to do that.
Why put all that time in training and then become so allergic to your products that you can't use them? And believe me, it happens all the time.
For sure. This Sharpie, I just want to touch on that because what you just clarified for me is it's going on to a product already, so it's not a big deal. It's not on the skin, it's blah, blah, blah. But when you say the filing, now it makes sense, complete sense, because we breathe that, right? So thank you for that, because you see a lot of it on the internet. Everybody's doing the latest marbleizing and everything with the latest whatever. So thank you for touching on that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing those techniques as long as you're doing them with products that are designed for that purpose and have been tested for safety. So the manufacturer who sells those to you, the owner who sells those to you, they buy them from a distributor who sells them as for cosmetic use. That same distributor may sell other pigments that say, no, those aren't for cosmetic use. They're for automotive use or for something else, spray paint. So we're not going to sell those to you. So buy from responsible manufacturers. Don't buy from no names on the internet that you don't know where they got this stuff. And make sure if you're getting from a responsible cosmetic manufacturer or brand owner, reseller, they're going to make sure that hopefully going to make sure that you're buying the safe materials. And also get the safety data sheets for all of your products and check and make sure that that product is designed for cosmetic use and that you're reading and following the warnings and following instructions. Heeding warnings and following instructions are great ways to work safely. And many people ignore instructions and make up their own instructions and ignore warnings. Not a good idea.
So could you per se take a clear top coat and add a red colored gel to the top coat from the same company to maybe thin your red out or add a little bit of art with that? Would you consider that safe use?
Well, that could be a problem. That's why I would talk to the manufacturer of the gel and say, hey, I want to do this. Is this okay? My first blush would be no. You mix a top coat, evaporative top coat, that doesn't UV cure with a UV curing gel, you just alter the properties of both products. And more than likely, you're not going to properly cure that UV gel, and that could lead to adverse skin reactions. That's the biggest problem. Nobody's nail is going to fall off, or they're not going to die, or they're not going to get cancer or tumors. None of those things can happen. You can develop an allergic reaction that can destroy your career. That's good enough reason.
For sure, for sure. Everybody that's a nail tech usually loves being a nail tech, and they don't want to ruin their career because of something so simple that just wasn't knowledge. I mean, I didn't teach that in my classes, Doug, honestly, because I didn't know. But thank you for sharing that with us, because now it's something that I want to pass on to my students.
Well, it's a good point. You can't know what you don't know, right? So that's really the point of education. A lot of people graduate from school. They've been in the industry for a long time. They think they know it all, and maybe they know a lot. Maybe they're really skilled. I'm not making fun of them, but there's things that they don't know that could eventually lead to the demise of their career or long-term problems that could easily be avoided. So never assume that you know enough. No one does. I don't. I'm always out looking for new things. And I don't know a nail technician in the world who knows enough. And I know some of the best in the world. and I highly respect their knowledge. But it doesn't mean that they know enough or they know it all. We all are always learning new things. There's new information and new products all the time. So if you want to keep up, the best way to keep up is to open your mind, expand your learning, and the more you learn, the easier it is for you to spot things that aren't true and misinformation. I hear all the time on the internet now, things I used to correct people on. Other nail professionals are jumping and saying, no, that doesn't make sense because of this and this and this. And I can see that knowledge working in them and helping them to troubleshoot and problem solve. So if you want to be like them, the more you know, the better off you're going to be, the easier it's going to be to solve problems, the more your clients are going to love you, and the more impressed they're going to be by their nail professional who really knows a lot and teaches it to them and informs them as well. This is how to elevate the entire industry and make the industry safer at the same time.
Perfect. We are running out of time. I actually just got a little pop-up window. I want you to close in telling people how they can find you, because everybody needs to hear what you have to say. So if you could maybe share that with us on how we can get access to you.
Oh, lots of ways. I'm very accessible through this book here, Nail Structure, Face to Face with Doug Schoon, Volume 1. I also have a Volume 2 that's out that is completely different and contains a lot of cool images, and like 3D images that you can get free 3D glasses and look at the 3D images. They're shown in 2D and 3D, but both books are very different. And in January, I'll come out with Volume 3. They all are tracking a video series I do called Face to Face with Doug Schoon. So the books have the same name. You can go online and look up www.facetofacewithdougSchoon, and you can see my video series where I answer questions from nail professionals from all around the world. I've answered over 280 questions so far in 73 episodes, 77 episodes. Each episode's about 15 minutes long, so they're easy to watch. You can just listen to them while you're doing other stuff, and you'll be amazed at what you'll learn. You'll learn information that you won't find really anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You can also join me on Facebook, Doug Schoon. I have a Doug Schoon's Brain and a Doug Schoon Facebook page where I do a lot of education. So between my website, DougSchoon.com, my books and my videos, and my Facebook page, you should be able to get your questions answered. But I definitely recommend you get the book, because I can't say everything on Facebook that I do in the book.
Right.
And it's really easy to understand because it's based on questions from nail technicians. So
and
it's answering your questions.
Yeah, it's a great reference too. If you do have a challenge with someone who combats you on a question, you've got it in black and white to say, well, here's the answer, right? So,
and even better, you can have it in your ebook. It comes in printed form or ebook, so you can instantly search and find references from the ebook. And the ebook questions actually link back to the videos. So if you have a video subscription and an ebook, you can jump from the ebook to the videos and watch the video. You can buy these on any Amazon in the world. Just go to Amazon. You can get the ebook or the printed version. They're also on iTunes, on Barnes & Noble, Nook, and Kobo. So every ebook platform is available, and printed as well in whatever country you're in. If you're in the UK, you can order from UK Amazon, or Australia Amazon, and they'll print the book and ship it to you on demand.
So but to get them signed, they're going to have to find you in person.
Right, because I don't ship them out myself. So to get them signed, if you meet me at a show or something, I'm happy, of course, to sign your book for you.
Perfect. And I look forward to getting my next one when I see you next time. Thank you, Doug, so much for being our featured guest. Your knowledge is beyond words, and we would love to have you back in the future if you're open to that.
Love to come back, and thank you for asking me to help you kick off the series. I hope that people pay attention to it and start coming and joining in. They're likely going to learn quite a bit.
Thank you, Doug. Doug is a contributing author to the textbook that we use in the school. And thank you again.
You're very welcome.
Okay. I'm just going to...
Bye, everyone.
Bye.